And just like that, we are live. Okay, everything's A-okay. On my way to where the air is new. Can you tell me how to get to Nanaboozhoo? Oka hey, oka hey, boozhoo, and welcome back to BOOZHOO NANABOOZHOO, the podcast about Ojibwe language and culture. I am Nanaboozhoo, and I'm just kind of setting up, getting ready for the big Zoom meeting tonight. I'm a guest with the Building the Bridge organization here in Bemidji. In lovely Bemidji Gamug, the lake of the crossing waters. That's the name of my town, Bemidji. People not from here don't know how to pronounce it. It's an Ojibwe word, Bemidji. But tonight, I'm going to have to talk about Oji Ajogan, building a bridge. Oji Ajogan. And it's kind of a undoing racism organization, I guess. And I don't know. Building a bridge. There's so much kind of implied in that, Like there's a chasm between, I'm guessing, between Indians and white people. But, I mean, are there two more generalized groups you can think of? What do Indian people think of blank? Well, what do white people think of blank? I mean, how can you generalize? So maybe part of the building the bridge, I'm thinking, should be we're going to need to ask what needs to be bridged. And I guess one thing would be the assumptions about the one group to the other. Tony Troyer, Dr. Anton Troyer, as he is referred to in academic circles, but his family calls him Tony Troyer. He wrote a book once called Everything You Wanted to Know About Indians, but Were Afraid to Ask. And it'd be like, okay, what is a tribe? I didn't want to sound ignorant. And that's kind of what all Ojibwe language and culture and history education kind of contends with. Because even the teachers are closetedly ignorant. They don't teach us stuff in college. You can get a history degree and not learn about the Ojibwe migration. We're given just sort of fairy tales of what happened. So I might talk a little bit about what the fairy tales I learned about history are. That might help. What else? What is the cause of this chasm? And I think part of the cause could be the way we're taught. The Ojibwe, when they talk about Ojibwe culture and language at all in school and stuff, it's mostly just talking about our problems. And there's a lot of white guilt. They take a lot of ownership of the plight of Native Americans. Oh, it was because the white man came and the boarding schools and all that it caused Native American families to break up. And then there's Romy. Hey, BOOZHOO Nijikwe. Hello, my friend. Romy and I go way back to the Y2K era in Duluth. Oh, wow, it's nice to see you here. I've got a big Zoom meeting thing tonight that I'm kind of organizing my thoughts around. And so it's all about bridging the gap. So I don't know. What kind of gap do you think we need to bridge between you know, these two groups that are too big to Misqua Makwa, Red Bear, to I got to talk about bridging the gap. So there's this. First of all, there's a lot of people who are nervous about the conversation because immediately white liberals will start to feel guilt. White conservatives will be kind of like, yeah, and I'm not apologizing for nothing. And the Indian people. Here's the other thing: there's not one point of view in Indian country about anything. I sometimes get the impression that non-Indian people want to know what Indian people think of blank. Because when they ask you, they always ask you as an Indian person, what do you think of casinos? Well, what difference does it make what I think of casino? What do I think of race car driving? What do I think of strip club? But it's always like, well, what do Indian people think? Was it a good thing or a bad thing? What is tribal sovereignty? Might be a question in that book. It's like tribal sovereignty is the freedom for Indian people to discriminate and oppress other Indian people within a reservation boundary. Here's another one of those things like nobody wants to ask. It's like, oh, what tribe are you from? And people be like, oh, Leech Lake. I was like, no, you're not. Leech Lake's not a tribe. Leech Lake is a band within the larger tribe of Chippewa Indians. And you go, what do you mean Chippewa? That's not what we're called. We're the Anishinaabe. It's like, well, yeah, but the tribe in which you're a member of a reservation is it's a designation the U.S. government has set up for you. The reservations were originally, maybe still, managed by it's called like a reserve, like a wildlife reserve. And you got a number, being a member of a reservation is, a new thing. Being a member of a tribe is the larger, whatever. I know you know this already, Romy. But that's like one of those things like white people are like afraid to ask. It's like, what's going on there? And what do you get for being a member of a reservation? They want to know, what are the benefits? It's kind of like asking the people at Auschwitz, oh, what's that number you got? What was your tribal enrollment in Auschwitz? What kind of free food did you get while you were in Auschwitz? I mean, it's not that bad. Well, that's another thing, when it comes to the history of Ojibwe people, of Anishinaabe. Sometimes they want to compare it to Germany, to the Jews, because they'll throw around that term, genocide. Oh, the Indian people were genocided. This ain't rock and roll. This is genocide. But one big difference between Indian people and the Jewish people in Nazi Germany, that whole concentration camp genocide thing only took a couple of years. It took like 400 years for the Indians and the white people to stop warring. Calling it a genocide doesn't really kind of frames it in a dumb way. Oh, they killed off all the Indians. Did they know? Because by last count, I think there's more Indians now than there were in the days before, Columbus. So I'm going to have to talk about Columbus a little bit. And I don't know. What, I got to educate the world? I mean, for crying out loud, I'm Ernie and Bert's cousin. Why are people asking me? Well, we're going to bridge the chasm of misunderstanding and undo racism. How big of a deal is the history? There's another question I'm going to try to tackle. How often are Indian people referring to, well, you know what? This is all Indian land. That college, BSU, that's on Indian land. That's our college. Indian people don't really talk about that. One of the bridges, here's some differences between white culture and Indian culture. It might be the only difference I've really noticed. Lots of times Native people will say, well, as an Indian person, I blank, oh, I got to honor my elders. If you come to my house, I got to offer you some coffee because as an Indian person, that's very important to us or whatever. Oh, we're the sacred keepers of the water because as an Indian person, blank. Once in a while, Indian people talk like that. But you almost never hear a white person kind of qualify his opinion based on his race. He's not going, well, as a white person, my people and their British values think it's very important to, family was very important to us, And maybe that's too bad. That might be too bad. That might be an American thing. Because maybe it would be better if people like, well, we hold, they always say, oh, what do they call it? Judeo-Christian values. Well, maybe they're also like British values. Might make more sense. Anyway, so I got to talk about the history a little bit. So yeah, Ojibwe people sometimes say stuff like that. But like culturally, you ask any, you go up to anybody anywhere. You'll ask one guy on the street, hey, what do you think about the pipeline? And then you go to his cousin and you go, what do you think? And you get two different answers. That's a problem like the media does. They always say, oh, so-and-so, a Native American leader from the White Earth Reservation says, like they're speaking on our behalf. There's no such thing as an Indian leader. Oh, he's a tribal leader. No. He may have the job of tribal chairman, some bureaucratic nonsense position. Sorry, guys. But you're not our leader. It's not like the movies where you're the chief and you can just call out the braves to do your bidding. We're not a gang. Leaders. But the media likes to say that, oh, Indian people, they're all, the tribal leaders say that the Indian people are against replacing the pipelines. Say, hold on. Winona Ryder LaDuke doesn't speak for all Indian people. Oh, wow, Brandy Marie. Holy smokes, you're back. I am back. America is back. How's the audio, Brandy? Can you hear me okay? I think I got it set up with the good microphone, but I could be wrong. Anyway, so we're doing a live chat. I was just telling my friend Romy here. It's great, good. That tonight's the big Zoom meeting with Building the Bridge. And so our Ojibwe phrase of the day, Oji, Ajogan, Oji, to build, Ajogan, a bridge. We're going to build a bridge. And Romy says that you can hear me. Can you hear me? Can you feel me inside? So this thing tonight's going to be like an hour and a half long. I think I'm going to have to turn it over to Michael at some point just so he can rest his hand. This gets tiresome after a while. But anyway, so we're going to build a bridge. I thought maybe we could talk about the medicine wheel. This is one of the things that, okay, so here's a cultural Here's one thing. One thing that Native people should understand about themselves and white people should understand about natives. So yeah, there's a lot of diversity in thought when it comes to the so-called Indian perspective. Whether it's politics, there's a lot of very blue, very liberal, very pro, all that, Antifa and Black Lives Matter and water is sacred and all that. There's a lot of Indians like that. And there's a lot of Indians who are very pro-hunting, pro-gun, very religious, very Christian. There's a lot of very red Indians on the reservation, But when they start asking, oh, this tribal leader thinks this, it sort of implies that all Indian people agree, and we never do. But there are some things that are passed down through Indian families that are slightly different than what's passed down in non-Indian families. And the connection to your grandparents, it is sort of true that Native Americans, the grandparents are very, very special to the grandchildren. And so sometimes those old traditional values get passed down too. And so like the medicine wheel, even if you're not all traditional, going to sweat lodges and stuff, a lot of Indian people learn about the 4 quadrants, that everything's in 4s. They'll talk about the 4 directions, north, south, east, and west. There's the 4 elements. There's air and fire and water and earth. Earth, wind, and fire and water. There's the 4 seasons: autumn, winter, spring, and summer. There's 4, and those are the 4 states of being. You get your, I already said that. You got your mental, body, mind, and spirit. Mental, spiritual, physical, and emotional. And so sometimes, you might be feeling down. And so there's a traditional approach is to look at the big picture. You might go to your grandma and you'd be like, hey, grandma, I'm Nina Cozy. I'm sick. She goes, what do you mean? You got a fever? He goes, no, I'm sad or something. And she'll ask you the 4 things. Okay, well, first of all, let's check your fever. How are you physically? On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel? What's wrong with you physically? And you might say, oh, you know what? I'm feeling all bloated. I ate a bunch of greasy chicken and I don't know, I feel gross. Okay, well, you got a low score on your physical. Then how's your mental? What are you thinking about mentally? What's in your mind? Do you have a lot of worries on your mind? Are you thinking about the bad things that can always happen? Excuse me. You're watching scary movies and constantly thinking about demons and that. What's in your brain? And if you're thinking negative thoughts, well, that's going to affect your physical. Maybe you should watch something funny. Maybe you should quit. Maybe you should just get off the internet. Quit watching the politics. You think the world's ending. Go outside. That's your mental state. And there's your spiritual state. Here's one kind of difference they say in the Anishinaabe way. Spirituality is just embedded in everything. You're constantly praying. You're communing with the Great Spirit. You're looking for signs. But sometimes you get, when you're not like that, what are you like? Well, then you're material. You're spiritual or you're material. So when you're material, you're like Madonna. She's a material girl in a material world. That's when you care about what kind of car you drive, what kind of clothes you're wearing. Oh, look at me. I got a new handbag. Look at this handbag. It's worth $500. People are like, well, now you spent that money on your purse. You got nothing to put in it. Nah. But how are you spiritually? You got to ask that. That's going to affect your mind, and it's going to affect your body. And then it goes to your emotions. Sometimes, I had a toothache a while ago. And an old friend of mine sent me some medicine, miigwech again, by the way. And but it started to bum me out. I started to get depressed. My mind started to think about worrying about money, and I started to worry about death, age and whatever, because my tooth was hurting. It'll affect your emotions. Now, sometimes men, we get our emotions all messed up, and we start thinking, well, I got anger and I got happy. I got those two settings. But you got to be in touch, Maybe you have a 10% fear. Maybe there's part of you that's in grief. Maybe there's part of you that's, in love. But your emotions will be affected by your physical being and your mental state and your spiritual state. They all work together. But so I might talk about that tonight. And all this basically to bridge the gap. How do you bridge a gap? Got to identify what the gap is. So in Bemidji, it's pretty segregated. The white people don't like to admit how few Indian friends they have. Especially if they're like, really liberal. They're like, come on, man, I hate racism. I want to do something. And how come every time we have one of these meetings, it's just all of us whiteys from the hood? So we have a segregated community. And I think some people think that's because it's a racist community. And it's kind of like whatever you believe, you can find evidence. So let's say, there's no getting around it. You just go to the school, and there's the Indian section, and then there's non-Indian section. And sometimes that's based on like academic performance. They got that lumberjack school, which is like 90% native. And so it seems like, the Indian kids kind of hang out with the Indian kids. And then when they grow up, you've got the reservation. And so there'll be a lot of Indian people hanging out together, living together. And then, you get off the reservation and now you're in White Town. And, everyone's welcome in both places, but it seems a little segregated. And people start to go, well, what is that? Is it because racism? Well, I'm not a racist. It must be systemic racism. Oh, what do you mean by that? Oh, the system. Which system? The education system. Really? Those teachers? No, not really. Teachers are kind of nice. And besides, they all went to Indian schools, so we can't blame that. That is the cops. Oh, really? Yeah, the cops, man. You just look at the custody list, the Beltrami County inmate list. Oh, wow, there's a lot of shenabs in there. And a lot of white people. And a lot of men. And a lot of people who drink and drive. And drugs. And domestic violence, it seems like. But were the cops just going after profiling these guys and making them drink and drive? There's Indian people on the police force. How do you explain that? My cousin used to be the chief of police. So, I don't know. I've never had any problem with the cops, Yeah, sometimes they can be kind of intimidating. Well, with their aviator glasses and their fast cars, strutting around. But whatever, you know. But there's a perception that there's got to be something is going on. Why is everyone uncomfortable? And I think it's because they think the other side. So if there's a chasm, it's like there's non-Indian people who think the Indian people must be mad. You know, they clearly got the raw end of the deal. You know, if what they taught us is true, then, you know, the white people stole everything from the Indian people and made them live on reservations, and then built a Walmart and, you know, whatever. And then the Indian people are thinking, oh, those white people must think we're angry. You know, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder thinking we have a chip on our shoulder. And I don't know, they're telling me all this stuff about systemic racism. You know, I never knew an Indian person who got arrested who didn't do anything. You know, who was clearly just, you know, minding his own business. Oh, no, I'm just, you know. They're the first ones to admit, yeah, I was drinking and driving, so I got arrested. So the chasm, I guess, is that. You know, the assumptions that there's more hard feelings than there really are. You know, nobody posts a thing on Facebook that says, yeah, everything's fine. You know, I mean, there's never going to come a day where Antifa says, yep, good job, everybody. We ended fascism. You know, World War II vets are like, yeah, we did that for you a while ago. Hey, you punks, what do you think World War II was about? Taking our glory. But, you know, they have to, you know, that there implies that there's fascism going on. It's really interesting. It's like Black Lives Matters. Hey, are you for Black Lives Matter? Well, how do you say no to that? No, I'm for Black Lives Don't Matter. You know what? Yeah, of course. You know, are you pro-choice? What do you mean? Well, you know, pro-killing a baby? Well, no, you shouldn't kill a baby. But do you appreciate choice? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, you can choose Coke or Pepsi. You know, it's all how they word it. What's another one like that? Are you pro gun control? Even that. It's like, no, I think there should be no control of your gun. Just let it shoot wherever. Don't even aim. How can you be anti-gun control? But if somebody puts it, do you think the government should come and put restrictions on how you can defend yourself against them? It's like, no. You know. Do you want the government to come? Oh, this is too dangerous. Look at this. You got a two-sided sword. You're going to cut yourself. That's not in the Constitution. You know. I don't know. So we're going to talk about all that. And if I just talked like I did right now, I would have killed a good 28 minutes. How's your hand feel, Michael? I could use a break. Do you want to say hello to these people? I suppose I could. I'm going to have to readjust the camera. Yeah, that's okay. Ladies and gentlemen, for your viewing pleasure, Mr. Michael Lyons. I'm going to go here. Hello, everyone. Okay, I can see how distracting this is going to be if I look at my camera. So I'm going to try to just look at you here and test the audio. When I look at this later, I'm going to want to know just how loud I need to be. Hello, Brandy Marie and Tracy Ross. So nice to see everybody here. Looks like we've got 5 people watching. So this is the live stream on YouTube. And I had some trouble with it recently, but this seems to be working a little better. Tonight, I'd like to invite you guys. I don't know if I probably don't have a link, but tonight is my Zoom call guest appearance at Building the Bridge, which is a organization, I think out of Bemidji State University, that talks about community issues, I guess. When it first came out a few years ago, it was called something like what was it called? It had the same name as a thing in South Africa. Truth and Reconciliation. So normally the guitar doesn't sound good on this, so I'm not going to play much. Do you like my rock and roll wristband? I have to use that for the puppets. So this is just sort of testing. How's it go? I knew a man Bojangles and he danced for you in worn out shoes, ragged shirt and baggy pants, with the old soft shoe, and he jumped so high, lightly touched down. Is a song that I learned this year. And there's one song that I get a lot of mileage out of. And tonight I think they're going to play a pre-recorded video of it. Let me grab a pick. It's a song I wrote for my grandparents. I actually wrote it for my grandfather, because my grandmother heard it. And it was about their time at boarding school, at Flandreau boarding school. And this song I wrote years ago. It's a 2-chord song, but I've been able to visit conferences and schools, and I've talked about the boarding school era, and it's been just so well received. And before the COVID lockdown, or whatever you want to call it, the pandemic, I was going to conferences every month with my cousin Linda, talking about why treaties matter and what boarding schools were, and I would sing this song. So again, this is just sort of test the microphone. So my grandfather ran away from boarding school 4 times by sneaking out at night and jumping on a train going north. And I was born in 1913 in the storm of 1913. Thank you, Brandy. I'm going to leave it there in case the audio isn't great, which it usually isn't. But if it's good, next time I play, I'll play more. So, should we bring out Natasha? Natasha, do you want to say hello to the people?
Yeah, I can say hi.
Okay. You had a lot more energy to the room than I do.
Yeah, I know.
La la la.
Don't want to show him. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I think tonight we should also talk about women's issues. You know, this whole Nanaboozhoo thing. It's like an old boys club. When can we talk about the issues that are facing young women? So what are the issues facing young women? I guess I don't know. I don't really know anything that you don't know. That's sort of an issue, I guess. Looking out on the morning rain, I used to feel so uninspired. Until the day I met you, life was so unkind. Your love was my peace of mind. So today, have you guys been keeping up with the Johnny Depp Amber Heard breakup? Oh, it's so sad. I thought they would make it. I can't believe, I mean, how often does a Hollywood couple's marriage fall apart? That never happens. You know? I mean, when relationships in Hollywood fall apart, what's next? So I guess they had to go to court to break up. I don't know why. I don't think they were married. But anyway, he went to court, and I think he lost. But we learned that she pooped in his bed. And I don't think anybody wants to be in a relationship with someone who will poop in your bed. So, as the internet's telling me, there's been a petition where over 1 million people signed to get Amber Heard out of the next Aquaman movie. And you're like, yeah, you know what? I can't really picture. I'm just going to be picturing her pooping in that whole movie. It's time to go, Amber Heard. Oh, I think I heard something, Amber Heard. I heard you just fired. Nah. Oh, Johnny Depp. You can kind of tell I'm on his side. Because he's a Wisakode Winnie. Johnny Depp is a mixed blood. He's a little bit of one thing, a little bit of something else. And he played Tonto in Lone Ranger and Tonto. So, Johnny Depp. Yeah, anyway. Let's see, I can't read the messages very well. So I'm just gonna Mahjong. Mahjada, let's go. Thank you for watching. Now I'm gonna walk over there. Why don't you take over and say goodnight?
Thank you, Natasha.
Yeah, no problem, anytime.
So there's Natasha. And yeah, I think I'll call that a chat and check the audio and all that stuff. Building the Bridge, Bemidji, if you go to my Facebook page, or if I can, I'll put a link after this. If you'd like to watch me do essentially what I just did in front of a live audience. Well, you guys are a live audience. Anyway, thank you so much. And you have been watching BOOZHOO NANABOOZHOO, podcast about Ojibwe language and culture. I am Michael Lyons, and I will see you again. Gigawabamin, Minowa, Hawa.